What's up guys, Christian here with Forward Momentum. I am here to share with you something super exciting. I actually got a complete welding setup. I've even run some test beads and I'm doing good so far. I can do some light fabrication work and I can do some exhaust stuff. If you hear some weird noises in the background, by the way, it's really windy outside, so my garage is flexing and making a bunch of noise. Sorry about that. I ran a dedicated 20 amp circuit. Let's take a quick look at that so that you can run your welder safely and at the correct duty cycle without tripping your garage breakers. We're inside my breaker box here, and I want to show you the 20 amp circuit that I ran. Let's take a look. Right here. Okay, just kidding. Dedicated 20 amp circuit right there. So that's the outlet that is exclusively for things like my Stratus lift, the welder, right there. I want to show you guys all of the stuff that I have down here so that you can get completely outfitted and how much it all costs. It may look like a lot. This will help the GS guys. A lot of you are always asking about exhaust, and I'm going to also talk about sizing and how you can get some really good sound out of your GS. And we're also going to do an exhaust on the EP3. The GS guys are saying, I'm tired of seeing your EP3 project car. It has nothing to do with our GSs. You're right, but it does need an exhaust because the existing exhaust is 1.67 inches in diameter. So the thing is desperately needing to breathe. And we're gonna help do that by welding up a custom exhaust system. So let's take a look at some of these items and I'll talk about pricing. What we have here is the Harbor Freight Titanium 125 amp flux core welder. Flux core with exhaust, are you serious? Yes, I am serious. It actually works pretty well. Now, is it a stainless steel exhaust TIG setup? Absolutely not. Can you stack dimes with this thing? I've seen guys do it, but that's not really what I'm after. I don't really care what it looks like as long as it's strong and it doesn't leak. Sorry. It is so light. I've had a MIG welder before and I had to get a cart because lugging that thing around the garage was impossible without the cart. I love how light this is. I can take it over to a friend's house, I can go help somebody out. It plugs into any receptacle, but it is recommended to run a 20 amp and that's why I ran that 20 amp circuit. So I went with 30 thou wire, and that's what's recommended on smaller, thin-walled items, such as mild steel piping. The total cost with a coupon was about $200 with the wire. So I got the wire and the welder for about 200 bucks. Now, the cheapest that I've seen this is $159. It came on sale for $179, and then that's what I did. I used the $179 coupon. I got the wire, and with tax, it's probably $210 or $215. Then I went with an auto-darkening helmet. You don't have to get something this nice. And I like the auto-darkening feature because, of course, you can see what you're doing, and then it darkens whatever milliseconds that it detects that arc. I went with Nozzle Dip. And what you do is you take your nozzle here, and after you do a quick tack weld, so it's a little bit warm, you actually just stick it in the nozzle dip, and you do it once or twice a week. So it prevents buildup here on the tip, and you hardly ever have to replace your tips that way, even though I bought some extras. And then safety-wise, besides the helmet, get yourself a respirator. Don't screw around with your lungs. This flux core wire is really smoky. Next, we got a welding blanket. It's a 4x6 blanket. They're actually not that cheap. It's like 25 bucks. Welding gloves, magnets. These are really handy, and if you're gonna be doing exhaust work, you're probably gonna wanna take the exhaust piping, fit it together, and use jack stands, and this actually holds the pipe in place and prevents it from rolling around while you're welding. I think those are like $3. You're gonna need these to brush off all that white residue that shows up and slag. I guess you call it a chipping hammer. So get one of these. Again, super cheap, $3. These are real handy, these paint pens. I grabbed one of these, you know, just for doing alignment marks, acetone, and a rag, which I'm not showing the wire wheel brushes for your drill, and I'm not showing a grinder. This is the Mandrel-Bent kit that I got, and I really like the expand one end. Basically can kind of fit this whole thing together. And you can see I've done some test welds over there, so just ignore that. But it comes with all sorts of cool mandrel bends, and it comes with one end that's larger, and then one end that's not. This happens to be 2.25. We're gonna be doing it on the Project Car EP3 at 2.25 single. The great thing about this kit, this is the largest I recommend you go on the GS platform going dual. So at least on the 4 liter and 4.3 liter, I would not exceed dual 2.25 Mandrel-Bent systems. This kit here was 90 bucks for this whole thing delivered. Just because I have an American flag behind me doesn't mean I'm some welding professional. I am an amateur. I'm a beginner welder. Flux core is not ideal for exhaust. Someday I want to get to TIG on stainless. I think that that's just beautiful when people do TIG on stainless. So I'm starting with flux core. MIG is a better option, but you're gonna have to buy the tank. You're gonna have to buy a more expensive welder up front. MIG would be the way to go. But I'm gonna give it a shot with flux, and I think you guys are gonna be okay with it when you see the results. We'll see. I've got quite a bit of awesome stuff from Total Flow right here. Total Flow has been my go-to for sound. It sounds phenomenal on the GS platform. This is some cool stuff that they sent me to look at and to try out. Some of this is 2-inch and some of this is 2.25-inch and some of this is their newer design. Some of this is older design. You're gonna have to go on their website and read up, but there are different thicknesses and obviously different styles here that are represented. But they have all sorts of different designs based on your needs. On the GS, if you're just going for sound, that stock system is good to about 350 wheel horsepower. If you have, well, any GS 300 through 430, if you're not at 350 wheel, just adjust the sound by messing with the mufflers. Don't worry about anything else. Don't mess with the Y-pipe system. Don't go true duals. Don't go X-pipes. Don't spend all your money for 3 to 5 horsepower. That system flows really well and it's awesome on a daily drive. It's not back pressure, it's scavenging. Don't ruin the daily driving performance of your car by going with some crazy 2.5, 2.75, 3-inch dual. Enough of that. I'll get off my soapbox now. And you're gonna need some flanges, and these suckers aren't cheap either. So I got these from Bear River Converters. I'll put the link in the video description. They're on eBay and they have really, really good reviews. I got some of these gaskets separately. This is not a gasket. This is the mild steel cat flange. That's what I'll be mating up. And then of course, we've got this high heat Tycon gasket that'll go between the cat and this flange. High heat, because if you're gonna be welding stainless with flux core, which is not recommended, but you can do it, fusing dissimilar metals together, the spot that you fuse the dissimilar metals together are gonna be very susceptible to corrosion. I want to make sure that I coat them, and I'll probably put some high heat clear coat on them as well. I don't have that shown. I have a chop saw because this is a great way to cut exhaust. This blade here is for cutting piping. And so I swapped it out on my 10-inch Hitachi here. This is only $10 and I haven't used it yet, so I can't say that it works good, but it gets really good reviews. This will help cut these to fit. You know, jack stands are good. So I use these jack stands to take 2 pieces of pipe with the magnets and weld them together. And then this here is very, very handy to blow all the fumes out of the garage. I usually crack the bottom of the garage open, turn that thing on, and it blows the fumes right out the bottom. You don't want to be breathing that flux core smoke. It's nasty. My 6th or so weld right there. The welder is on the settings that I found to be best, and that would be B on heat and 4 on wire speed. I went a little higher on these and it got pretty close to burning through the pipe. We got dedicated circuit, dedicated outlets, got good old supercharged 1UZ sitting here, just resting. The EP3 needs an exhaust on it, so don't worry that we're doing an exhaust on the EP3. I would do the exhaust on the GS the same way, but this exhaust has already been done. So I don't want to just tear this exhaust off and just weld just for the heck of it. I'm gonna do it on something, I'm gonna create an exhaust on something that actually needs it. I think we'll do like a 2-part series. We'll get the EP3 up in the air real quick. I'll let you guys see how bad it is. Part 2 will probably be the actual welding of the pipe and showing you exactly how I do it. Here we are under the EP3. GSs are gonna be similar. Don't turn the video off just because you're underneath a Honda Civic. You know, this is a 2-liter engine. If you have a 1UZ, it's basically like having 2 of these. This thing appears to be fused together by rust. Here, it goes into this resonator, and this is the choke point. This is actually where most of the restriction occurs. And then we go back here, and this thing is just completely shot. Look at that. I'm gonna have to cut this off and have 2 flanges, replace this, and then replace all the pipe all the way to the cat. That helped you out for what to get if you want to get lower cost welding setup. Part 2 should cover the fabrication of this exhaust system. The same principles apply for the GS. I appreciate you watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like, drop a comment. See you on part 2.